Welcome back, Tech Jacks. For today's custom build, we'll be constructing a premium grade guitar cable. If you're new around here and enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and share because we need those subs more than ever now that YouTube has changed their monetization rules yet again. Now with that icky stuff out of the way, let's get to building. For today's project, the parts you'll need are 2 male 1/4-inch monophone plugs, or 6.3 millimeters for those using the metric system, a predetermined length of unbalanced instrument cable, an equal or slightly greater length of Techflex. For these, I'll be using Mogami W2425 cable, red and black Techflex, a pair of Nutric 1/4-inch mono plugs. The tools you'll need are a wire stripper, a wire cutter, a thin spudger tool or something thin and blunt like a butter knife, a soldering iron, some rosin flux, something to hold the cables still while we work like a crocodile clamp stand, scissors, tape, I'll be using gaffer's tape, pliers, a thick rag, preferably white, I'll be using an Amazon Basics washcloth. Mark off 5 to 10 inches from either end of the cable. Choose a longer length if you are new to this sort of thing, so if you make a mistake, just cut and try again. Now you are ready to begin. So let's remove any oxidized copper from the exposed end of the cable by cutting a new tip. With your wire cutter, gently score the outer jacket an inch or 2 from the end of your cable, taking care not to cut too deeply as to not damage the copper strands underneath. Make sure you score completely around the jacket. Done correctly, this should expose the copper underneath. Rock it back and forth and gently pull the sheathing away. Carefully separate the strands and gently gather them to one side of the cable, taking care not to break any individual strands. Each strand can be very delicate. With all of them to one side, gently twist them into a bundle. Gather a 1/4-inch plug and place it nearby. We'll use it to measure how long each conductor needs to be. Cut the outer conductor down to about an inch. Also, cut the inner conductor down to about an inch. Continue to measure and cut the inner conductor until the outermost part of the plug meets the uncut jacket. Align your plug with the cable and cut the outermost part of the conductor until it meets the top of the inside of the plug. If done correctly, the outer and inner conductors should align with the outer and inner parts of the plug. This particular cable has a black conductive inner jacket. Let's remove it bit by bit starting from the end because it can be tacky and cumbersome to remove. I find removing it this way works best. This conductive layer must be stripped back while wiring or a partial short will result. Finally, let's measure one more time and remove just a tiny bit of the end of the inner conductor. Using your crocodile clamps, stabilize the cable. Now it's time to tin the conductors. We'll be using liquid rosin flux. This will help the tinning process by drawing solder to it like a magnet. Spread a drop or two to the outer conductor. We'll be using standard 60-40 tin to lead ratio solder. Apply the solder to the iron's tip and sweep the tip across the conductor. If applied correctly, the conductor should be shiny and coated evenly. Repeat this step again for the inner conductor. Now let's cover the tip of the plug with a healthy amount of tape. We do this to protect the gold plating from the clamp's teeth. Spread a wide but thin layer of flux on the outer conductor plate of your plug. Repeat the soldering technique explained earlier and spread it widely across the surface of the conductor plate. Again, if done correctly, the joint surface should be shiny and smooth. Repeat the process again with the inner conductor plate, taking care not to use too much flux to avoid spillage. Now stabilize both the cable and the plug. Reaching into the solder joint of the outer conductor plate, reheat it by moving the tip of your iron back and forth. If done effectively, the two should meld together cleanly. Place a few drops of flux into the cavity of the inner conductor plate. Apply a healthy amount of solder to the inner plate. This is done because creating a clean joint can be tricky in a deep cavity like this. Techflex expands and contracts, similar to Chinese thumb cuffs. Insert the bare end of the cable into the Techflex. To ease insertion, push down from the Techflex toward the cable. This will expand the Techflex. Continue to push down from the empty end of the Techflex toward the tip of the cable. When your hand meets the tip of the cable, pinch and hold both the Techflex and the cable in one hand, while the other hand works the Techflex down the length of the cable. This will contract the Techflex to form a snug fit. Continue until the Techflex reaches the other end of the cable. Getting a snug fit can be hard on your hands. The friction could be very abrasive. I recommend using a rag and a pair of gloves. When you have covered the entirety of the cable with Techflex, find the end and measure about 6 to 10 inches from there and cut. If you are new to this will leave room for error. Tape the end of your Techflex and make it somewhat pointy so we can later slide the plug's boot over it. Here's a quick preview of how all this fits together. The chuck aligns perfectly with the bottom of the plug, appropriately known as the plug finder. The boot pushes up against the chuck, contracting the chuck, which grips the cable tightly. The bushing slides over the plug finder and connects it to the boot. Now back to the build. Take a boot and slide it over the taped end of the Techflex thread side first. Make sure to push it to and just past the cable about a foot. Now let's get back to the other end of the cable. The Techflex will most likely be frayed, but that's okay. With your wire cutters, snip away the frayed ends. Take the chuck and snap it onto the cable. Next, align it with the plug finder like so. Some more fraying may occur, but that's okay, just retrim the ends. Slowly slide the boot up to the chuck. Going too fast will create a lot of friction and therefore heat, which could damage both the boot and or the Techflex. I find holding the cable just below the boot with a tight grip should help with too much Techflex bunching up at the end of the cable. Take the bushing and slide it over the plug toward the boot. If you find it snug, take a generous amount of tape and tape both the bushing and the boot. Using pliers, gently tighten the ends together, taking care not to damage or scratch the bushing or the boot. You may find that the end of the boot is extruding out a bit. Using your spudger or a blunt and smooth alternative, push the extrusion back into the boot. Take care not to damage the Techflex. If done correctly, it should look like this. Almost done, now let's work on the other end. Take your rag and work your way towards the unfinished end, removing any slack along the way. This will create a snug fit, which is important to achieving a premium look and feel. You may find that there's an excessive amount of Techflex at the end. This can happen if care isn't taken to keep it snug when first sheathing the cable. Take the other boot and thread it over the tape, threads facing outward, or to put it another way, threads last. I find twisting as I go helps thread it over the Techflex. Push it down past the cable at least 6 inches. Now find the end of the cable and begin to bunch up the Techflex a good 6 inches or so. Fold the Techflex and cut off the excess. Push the Techflex down the length of the cable until you see the mark you made at the beginning of the video. Tape down the Techflex past that mark. Now, just rinse and repeat. Your finished product should look something like this. This 10-foot cable costs just a little under $19, minus tax and shipping. As of the making of this video, I've seen this same exact cable range from $100 to $125 for the same exact components. With a little elbow grease, you can make a premium quality guitar cable at a fraction of the price. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and share. My goal is to get 1,000 subscribers this year, so anything you can do to help me achieve that goal would be absolutely stellar. Also, I'd like to plug a very cool website a friend created called Board Game Discovery. His site has a clean design which features convenient filters. Whether you're into solo games, party games, Euro games, etc., it's all there. Just visit boardgamediscovery.com. That wraps it up for me. If you have questions, have suggestions, or have ideas for future videos, please leave a comment below. Your feedback is always welcome, and we'll see you in the next video.